we have quite run into time now, and I think we have discussed very well most of the issues surrounding this. Obviously, the dangers being, unnecessary death. We see people losing their lives in the Middle East. We see people losing their lives on the high seas. In the Middle East, apparently, there's a practice of harvesting body parts as well, and nobody seems
Organ
to want to talk
trafficking.
about it.
It's not on the Middle East. It as far as even Uganda, it has been happening because if you've been following like Tamale Mirundi, there's some kind of Pakistani who like with some connected people. Well, that's why you see, and unfortunately, most of the hospitals, there was Mulago was announced, Chitovu was announced, whereby the higher chance of going to some of those hospitals, there's higher chance that you won't survive because it's a lucrative business for organ harvesting. If you look around, like in Tamale Mirundis, you know how like he records people's audios. He has the audio of some Pakistani who was involved into that business.
Yeah, so you see how the dangers of trafficking now start to cut across. And obviously when we lose a young life, like we said, besides natural resources, it's our human resources. So when we lose a young life, we lose their revenue to the country, the tax, whatever they could have done for their family, the support they could have been offering to their family, all of that is gone. But as well, I want to take this chance to encourage sort of our youth not to be so desperate about this travel thing. It's not all glorious as you think it is. I remember when I just got to the UK, I used to cry every day after university because I missed my family that much. And it's quite an adjustment coming from a big, extended, loving family to then having to live on your own, coming from work and stuck before your TV or having a circle of one or two friends. So it does play games with your mind. But then if I can give sort of an inspirational example as well of somebody that didn't travel. So I've got a cousin that unfortunately dropped out of primary 7 or primary 5. And then, I've had access to this land for years, but I've never really bothered to do anything with it. So this young man takes a wife and he goes and starts farming on that land. God blessed him. Within a year, it opened a shop selling, that time was the local brew they used to bring from Kagadi or wherever. And next thing I know, he's bought a Diana. So within a space of 3 years, this young man's life turned around while I was still going to Makerere. And I am the owner of the land. And now the person that was brave enough to use it, he got rich. So what does that tell you? It tells you within yourselves and within your community, if you've got, say, access to land or access to other resources, sometimes probably look inside and try to work your way out of these situations than trying to run away. Because part of the issue that is sustaining all this evil in Africa is that the young were too quick to run away than to challenge. And perhaps it's time we challenge. I mean, look at the trend. Look at what's happening. People have been in America for years, even slave descendants. Now they're coming back to Africa. Because no matter how long you live in these countries, take it from you, you will not be accepted. You will not be so comfortable. You will still always feel like something is missing because your spirit is just not here. And I think a lot of us don't tell this as honestly as we should. So really, if you're viewing this today, start to audit your resources, start to look I'm one of those creative people. I can start something out of nothing very easily. All it takes is having the will for it, and then along the way, somebody comes along and sees how hard you're working and they might bless you. So I think I will conclude in that light. And very briefly, if you guys can comment as well on some other dangers. I know I watched a documentary about people dying on the borders of Mexico and the States as well, because it's a big problem in
when it comes
South
to the
America
US
as well.
border, yeah, actually, where I stayed at, I was just sometimes I go as far as the border. When it comes to the border side, the route that because there's a fence along the border, but then there are some areas that are harsh, some harsh zones. So those are the harsh areas where like people die because of severe weathers, because pretty much west of USA is kind of California, Texas is pretty much of it is a desert. So between Mexico and US, yeah, that area where people cross, it's harsh, snakes, harsh weather, then you die of maybe a heat exhaustion, heat stroke. So those are the common things that kill them, or maybe things like cold. So because sometimes if the temperatures are extreme, yeah, the temperatures can go as far as 45 degrees centigrade. Then if it's low, sometimes, yeah, on cold season, you have been in winter, you know, sometimes the temperature can drop at 20. So say like if a person who like grown in Uganda, say like you're just putting on this t-shirt, then you're exposed to a 30, you have gone to a negative 10 degrees, you know that one, you won't survive a walk of
You will
about
die. You will
a
die.
walk of 1,000, because sometimes these people have to walk close to 1,000 kilometers, not only 1,000 kilometers, beyond, because by the time you come, like, because most of people who cross actually are not Mexicans. Some people come as far as West Africa, they settle in Central America, then they find, sometimes takes them 1 month crossing border to border. Then when you reach to Mexico, the drug traffickers too are also extorting them. So they get that extortion whereby they have to pay ransom to be transported. So they also lie to them and say, we shall transport you to the border. So like the way you said, the Nigerian who spent almost 30,000, some reach a tune of spending that close to just to get transported, because there's a lot of patrol. So there's kind of a clique of people who transport you to the border. Then as soon as the borderline, they advise you, you can cross at this time of the night. Then they say, US just here. But by the time you get into US, the distance that you have to travel to get to the nearest town, you'll be walking about 1,000 kilometers at 45 degrees, whereby there's no water, you die of heat exhaustion. People die every day and night. Same thing like as you see in Mediterranean Sea, boat capsizing, or maybe people coming from West Africa, by the time they make it to Libya, actually sometimes when they reach Libya, they are held as slaves and they have to work to feed themselves and also to work money that will take them. Sometimes if they don't have money, they have to work free labor in order to be transported on those boats going to Europe. So
I think the worst one for the Libyan route is when they get to Greece, they then have to walk through the Himalayas. Is it the Himalayas or whatever? They have to walk to get to Poland and to get to Eastern Europe. And then from there, they get a bit of respite. And the weather is very extreme in the Swiss Alps or the Himalayas to sort of cross by foot. And it's by foot, and they go through tunnels.
That one through the Poland, the Poland thing was during when during the Arab League, when people walk like from I think from Palestine and they walk into Europe. You remember when there's that flux into Europe? I know someone who did that, but I can't just mention the name on media here. Yeah, because by that time I was mid of deployment, and communication was tight. I tried to help in such ways. It was a challenge because if at a certain point they were in Greece, so it needed like, okay, some help. So I sent, and you know, this is a situation, somebody's walking, you're in a country, you've reached Greece, you don't have documents to receive money. Then I send, okay, this 300 will facilitate you, maybe through your work. By the time I send the money, because I was on ship, so it was like a week before I would pull on port, then be able to send the money. So when I pulled in port, they had already left Greece, I think, gone to another country. So I sent the money, and he couldn't get the money. I'd already sent it. So by the time, again, communication network. So by the time he reached back to me, again, I was back at sea, because sometimes once in a while, challenges of being in ship, sometimes internet is cut off. So by the time I got the message, I say, I send the money, this is the reference number. I already left Greece, gone to another country. So It took me 6 months before even I would get that, because then if you send a MoneyGram, you can, as long as not past 6 years, you can still get back the money. So, but
That's true.
so those are challenges that I passed through. He had a rough challenge going through. That's somebody I knew from my.
I mean, somebody told me on that route, it's so extreme. There's no water. They have to urinate in the bottles and keep their own piece so that they can drink it. So they have to recycle the water through their body system. Now, really, if you think about it all in perspective, then guys, it's not really worth it. You know, my advice is let's fight for Africa, and let's make Africa great. Let's not wait for the foreigners to come and loot everything and leave us with nothing, because they are systematically driving all of us back into slavery. And let's avoid them trying to enslave us in our own continent. And I think that's how I will conclude. We are pressed for time now. So Harry, if you can very briefly summarize, and Charles, if you can do the same, and then
Okay. What I'll say, if somebody got an opportunity, we don't say that don't utilize it. If you have the opportunity, contact. A lot of people have inboxed me and they asked me. So I've given the good side and I've given the bad side. So I leave it to your hand to choose. Because if you have opportunity, we all have different opportunities. It doesn't mean that, okay, just because Geoffrey, you came to the West, oh, you know it better. Okay, say if every time anybody has opportunity, contact at least 5 people individually. Let them give you the good side and the bad side. Then if you tell me, be open and tell me what's your plan. What's your plan within 3 months? Give me your plan within 5 years. Give me your plan within your goals within 10 years. Then I can give you the in and outs, what you need to avoid, what you need to overcome. Then another thing, when it comes, when things go the bad side, how you should be mentally prepared to overcome, because that's the worrying side of it, the mental side of it, because even if you came like the right way, like say you say that you flew through visa, there's still the mental side that you have to overcome. Then another thing, now this one goes back to home, whereby I mentioned it earlier, we should stop underlooking ourselves, thinking that, okay, just because somebody is from Europe, because there's always getting expatriates from Europe. Okay, I know we lack the equipment, but the same pie, the same, say like, okay, electrical voltage is equal VIR, is the same voltage, is the same VIR that we learn there. The same pi is the same pi, the same formula that we use, okay, the integration is the same integration that we learn there. But the thing is, as we still talked of the thing of mentorship, that's how, like, when you come from school to advance your career, mentorship is the process that is the only way how we shall progress ourselves. Because if you're like right away from degree, right away from school, definitely it starts from internship, because sometimes internship, like the way we do teaching practice at school, most of internship are done like that, whereby from school, before school is done, you do some practice. So through internship, then after post-internship, when you get your first job, you kind of do a mentorship. You should have a mentor. So that's how the only way we shall develop and we believe in ourselves, other than just thinking that a foreign expatriate will come and deliver us from where we are. No, they are not. This thing is not there to deliver us. This thing is the way how to make us bottom or as low as we are. So that one will be another topic of its own, whereby we are just, it's a deliberate thing where we are just left to just languish like that, just handouts, because we shall end up having just handouts for donation, but those donations that they give, they are with earmarks attached on it. That's all.
All right, and then we can end, please.
Yeah, for me, I think the thing that I would emphasize is that we are such an endowed society back in Uganda. Uganda, as it is, has got the most fertile soil, right? and the tourism in Uganda is second to none in the region. Maybe it's, but places like Kenya don't have things like gorillas. So in one sense, we are better off. So I would appeal to our young people and people who look for salvation abroad. Don't be tempted. The time is approaching very fast where you guys who are intent on leaving the country, you are going to be surrounded by your country folk who have actually left these very countries you want to go to and come back abroad. I mean, come back to our own countries. And then maybe at that very time, you will see that the skills that we have brought and we are now implementing is going to be shared with everybody. And then if it is farming skills, you'll see that maybe somebody is just farming on a larger scale, but it doesn't prevent you from doing the same thing on a smaller scale. It's just a matter of what techniques are they using? Are they using fertilizers? If they're rearing cattle, what sort of techniques are they using? How are they eradicating disease affecting those very species? What kind of crops are we growing? You know, the kinds of crops that are able to put money in your pockets, you know, as opposed to these usual crops that, you know, we have been told for years to go and get involved with, and it is labor intensive and the reward is not worth mentioning. So I would appeal to young people, above all, don't be over ambitious. You've got to look at things from a realistic point of view, right? Sometimes when things come before you, which is appearing to be very rosy, like all these adverts that, you know, you hear on the radios and the newspapers, be very skeptical. Try and bounce those ideas off somebody else who you think would give you good advice. And also, don't put all your eggs into that, because if it doesn't work, then you will be so disappointed that you will feel, you know, your world has actually caved in. And yet, every disappointment that you encounter, you can actually turn those into positives, because for everybody, nothing goes 100% all the time. I think that's what my conclusion would be.
Thank you very much, Charles. And I really appreciate that you touched on not being too ambitious, because then you reminded me of a story where I was at Makerere, the Institute of Statistics and Applied Economics. And I happened to be with a very young, brilliant brother who was doing quantitative economics, and he was set to get a first class. And through one of the big shots in government, he got a connection to come to the UK. And when he got to the UK, obviously he's left the coast now. He came to the UK, things didn't pan out as they were, ended up as an overstayer, got picked up and got deported. And he couldn't even show his face in Gulu or to his other circle of friends, because he was one of those young men everybody had high hopes for. But now this has messed up your life and you can't even show your face. So then he got deported, and I think he ended up back to the real village. I think, I don't know if it was Padibe or somewhere further, but that was one of the saddest stories when it comes to this immigration business. And thank you very much, you guys, for all your contribution. I hope somebody out there has followed and learned something. And like Charles said, we're not just here to raise awareness. We are also here to advocate and offer help and support where we can. So if you have suffered any of this and you need support, it could just be counseling and guidance and counseling. We have a good network of friends who could help you even remotely to bounce back with your life. You could have come back from the Middle East and you're suffering with depression, trauma. I think a lot of people going to the Middle East are going to be going back home with a lot of trauma, and government needs to be responsible this time. We cannot just let it.
In the Middle East, actually, everywhere. Because honest, like even say like for every you mention about somebody went back to bad debate, almost like for every one person who succeeds, there's a sad three other sad stories behind the scene that people don't talk about. So it's like almost 25 or even 10% success. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is very true. So yes, so guys, if you're suffering in silence, we know the stigma. Most of us have been through it. The first time we went back home, we got abused for A, B, and C. But we're resilient and we've lived that experience through. So don't feel guilty. Get in touch with me or Harry or Charles, and we will point you to a wider network of people that can help you. And unfortunately, that's been our time. I hope somebody's learned something out there. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for your contribution, and thank you for the viewers that stayed with us. And everybody have a blessed evening and a good day.
Bye-bye. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.